When we say we are women, we mean that we are brave, we are strong, we are capable, we are unique, we are woman to woman. Here, conversations breathe. Here, honesty feels safe. Here, women speak and everyone listens. Because in this space, every thought is welcomed, every feeling is understood, and every experience carries weight. It's where quiet strength becomes loud, where transparency becomes power, and where the truth is never too much. This is her moment. This is her voice. This is Conversations with Her.
Good afternoon, South Africa. Good afternoon, Africa. And it's so good to be back with you with another episode of Conversations with Her. Today it is Conversations with Donna. Welcome to Woman to Woman.
Thank you very much, Marcia. It's good to be here. Hello to all our viewers. Sit back and get ready for a wonderful ride.
And very shocking indeed. I can say that it might be exactly what you need. Because our focus of our conversation with Donna today, it is about challenges in life. And I can promise you, hold on there, get your bucket because you're going to cry. And how you go on without giving up. That is the angle of our conversation today. Okay. But we need to start somewhere, yes. Donna. And you need to start back then.
Go back
in
down.
Trinidad, Tobago.
Yes. So let me take you back, viewers, on my journey. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. I grew up there. I did my primary school, my junior secondary school. But then I moved to the U.S. because my dad, he remarried. Because for us to get us to the U.S. Though he tried when he was single, but according to the bylaws there, they didn't see him as being able to take care of 3 young children. So they said, no, in order for us to be there, he has to get married. So he came back to Trinidad. He got married to an old-time friend, and then he went back to process for us. So after junior secondary, my other 2 brothers, we are 2 years apart. So I'm the 12th child. And my younger brother is the 13th child. We
my gosh, 12 children.
13, actually.
13.
Yeah, we are 13. It's a large family. So we were the 3.
But many were born in the U.S. already.
No, Trinidad. We are all from Trinidad. We are all Trinidad. So we were the last 3 of the entire family. So we were the youngest ones. So all the others were grown. They had branched out. They had their lives. So we were the last ones of the brood. So that's why he got married, to bring us back.
Because your mother had passed away.
Yes, our mom had passed.
How old were you?
I was very young. I really don't recall, maybe 2, 3, maybe more, maybe less. So she died of cancer when she was, after she gave birth to my younger brother. And then my dad tried, but he really couldn't because of his work. So as we were growing, he left us because he was a sailor. He left us with his sister. And that was a different story. She didn't take very good care of us. That was when we passed hunger. I always had a vague memory of begging on the street. But I always saw it as if it was maybe a figment of my imagination. But then my sister confirmed it. How? Last year I went to take my dad, who is 99 now. Yeah. I had to take him back, and I met them. So then she was talking about that and so forth. And she confirmed this thought that I always had in the back of my mind, but I never really looked at it. So this was one of the things, that the mistreatment that we passed. We passed hunger. We would be hungry, beaten, having to carry water. And this was all before my dad took us to the U.S. Yeah, this was all
and
happening.
And your daddy didn't have any idea because
he didn't know, because he was sailing, and he would send money home to take care of us. And then it came to him that, why are the kids suffering like this? They're not being taken care of. And he was very angry when he came to learn that. So when he came back and he showed all the receipts, here is all the receipts. Here is the proof that I have been sending money to take care of my kids, but it was mishandled. You have those families that they channel it to their own, and the ones that, no, these are just my brother's children, just give them the basic.
How old were you?
I would say I would be around 8, 9 years old, around 8 or 9, around that. So if I was 8, the youngest one was 6, the older one was
10.
10, yeah. So we were like that. So we passed hunger, begging on the street. I remember there was also another incident my brother was telling me when I saw him last year. Because he still has a lot of trauma about that. I don't think he ever got over it. So he was telling me there was one night. No, I'm not crying, okay? I'm just
can.
no.
And they can cry with
You can cry if you want to. So he was telling me that it was the middle of the night. We went to visit our uncle in another area, like say another province. Mm-hmm. And then we spent the day there, and then we came back. But when we came back, there was nobody home. And he didn't know what to do. And we were standing in the middle of the night at the bus stop. And the two of us, the two younger ones, we were up there playing, and he was there worried. And I was telling him, I said, of course you would be worried, because here you are, you're not a grown-up, you're not an adult, and you have two younger siblings in the middle of the night at the street, and we don't know where to go. You look to the left, you look to the right, no transport or anything. So this was the kind of life that we passed when we were young. So then fast forward, my dad registered us. We went to the U.S., finished, enrolled in school, finished high school and everything. So my dad always said it would be good for me to join the military.
But before that, how was now living with your dad and your stepmother in the U.S.? Bringing, it's unavoidable. You would bring the ghosts of your first experiences.
Yes.
Not having a mom. And now you have to look at this woman and she's going to mistreat me like the aunt.
But actually,
and to adjust to a new culture.
Exactly. Okay, let me just step back a little bit. Before we went to the U.S., we were left with, after my dad took us from his sister, he almost went to prison because he was about to fight her. And then someone told him, don't go that way because it can end up very bad, because her children even gather around. So then before that, there was this elderly lady who was a friend of the family, of my stepmom. So she agreed. She never had children. She married. She lost her husband. So she agreed to take us until the paperwork finalized. So I think we spent a couple of years with her. But those were the best years.
Wow.
Exactly, because she made sure she took care of us. We went to school. She cared so much that in those old houses, the tub was outside to watch. She didn't even allow me to go outside, because for her, if you start mingling with the kids around, you can follow bad company and everything. So after school, I had to go to her working place. I would sit down, do my homework. She would serve me afternoon tea when they served tea. So she became a grandmother to us, and she really took care of us. So when the time came for us to leave, I think I was 15 at that time. And my dad came and said, no, I came for you. And I said, I'm not going. And she was like, no, you have to go. I said, I don't know you.
Gosh, you didn't know your dad
I didn't.
anymore. Yeah.
Being honest, I didn't really know him because I didn't grow up with him. Because he would come for some time. If you watch the timeline with my brothers and I, the birth, he comes, do whatever, then he goes. He comes, he will stay for a while. He wasn't like a present father, not because he didn't want to, but because he had to go out and work and send to take care of us. So passing everything that we passed, when the time came for us to go with him, and I was crying. I told her, no, I want to stay with you. And she said, no, you have to go. He's your father. I said, I know, but I don't know him, but I want to stay with you, because that few years we were with her, we received love, we received care, we received. It was like a return on what we never
It was
had.
a sense of safety.
Yes,
again,
yes.
that you never had.
We never had. So, but then in the end, push come to shove, we left. We went. It was the worst moment in that time of my life, leaving her behind because she didn't have anything. But then I had an older brother there who would come in and look after her, touch base with her, see how she's going. When we arrived into the States, and then learning the ways of how things there. My stepmother was a great woman. She really took us in. She never mistreated us. She gave us that. She was present, but she never imposed her will. She had her daughter. She had her granddaughter, but she never looked at us as, you are not my own. She treated us as her own, and she took care of us for the time. We were we became like really good friends, when we go out to the shopping and everything, because bags and shoes was our thing, even from that age. So she would always like to go and we would go along. So we had a good relationship after getting to the States and everything. So after I finished high school, graduated, my dad said, no, it would be good for you to join the military. It wasn't something that was on my radar, but you obey their father. I signed up, joined the military right immediately after high school, and went to the training and everything. But always, I always at the back of my mind, I was always curious about who God was. We will get to that in a while. But even from small, I always used to question, who are you? This, when you read the Bible and everything,
Because you come from a Christian family, at least not
a
very
Christian, but the Catholic Church we passed through, the Anglican Church we passed through, but not taking it seriously. It was just a form of, how can I say, obligation. Sunday morning, don't be in the house, go to the church. What do we know? Catholic. So you go there because you're told. When I had to sit for common entrance there in Trinidad, when I was with Miss Ina was her name, when the time came for that, she took me to high up in the mountains, but it was a Catholic monastery, that just to follow procedure, but never really committing to it because I didn't know anything there. So then fast forward, came to the U.S., as I said, graduated. Military. I was in the military, but I want to go back a bit. Maybe I may seem I'm going back and forth, and just I always believe that when God has a plan for someone, He guides your life. Because I remember when I was in junior high school, the incident, there was a May Fiesta. Because I escaped death about 3 times. There were incidents where I almost died. And then something happened there, and there was a stampede. And I felt myself falling. And if I had hit the ground, I would have been trampled on. Mm-hmm. But then someone lifted me up and put me on my feet. And when I turned around to see who it was to say thank you, there was no one there. So that was the first one.
Then could be a very kind person.
Exactly.
God.
God uses someone.
Yeah.
To protect me from that. Then in the military, during the time of training, the grenades pulled one out, and it took time to go off, and it fell
so you
in the
didn't
box.
Do office work?
No. In the military,
went to the field.
We had basic training. Then after basic training, you have your MOS, if I remember, if it's still called that. So I did it in South Carolina. Then I went to Fort Sam Houston, Texas. So that's where I was based. And then that's when I was training. My specialist was medical supply specialist. Mm-hmm. That was the training that I was. But aside of the medical field, you have to learn weaponry. You have to learn how to set landmines back then, learning how to do grenade launcher and all of these weaponry and everything. So when we pulled...
Would you believe that, people? When you look at someone, you don't know what has been happened in one's life. She's able to handle weapons.
That was then. No.
I'm not going to test you.
No. So then when we pulled the pin from the grenade, it dropped. So they thought it was a dud because it didn't go off because you have seconds. So when they took it up, the sergeant took it and threw it. The moment he threw it out, it exploded.
It could have been on.
It could have been with the other privates in the box there. Another one that we were coming from KP duty, and we were in the car, and we were passing a cliff. And as soon as they turned the cliff, the door flew open, and I was heading out. So the other soldier just pulled me back in. So I look at these as, God's protection in your life. So I went there after one Sunday morning, I went to the chapel, because you have like rest day on Sunday. And it was there when the question came, what are you doing here? And I was like, It's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, what am I doing here? And that was what put me now, I need to find God. I need to find God. And after I came out from the chapel and everything, nothing went well after that.
How long you were already in the military?
I graduated 1983. I graduated 1983, 84, 85. If I could do it with my age, 18, 19, 20, 21, when I came back home. Mm-hmm. So I graduated at 18 and 21 when I came back.
3.5 years.
Yeah, so it wasn't a long time. But after that moment in the sanctuary and I came out, nothing went well. So then I received an honorable discharge. And I came back home and my dad was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, no, I came back home. This is this and this what happened. So he was a bit upset, because he saw it as a place where I would make it a career. But it wasn't my choice. It was because he wanted me to. So then from there, I began to look for God. I began to search for him, to find this God, and that I've read about, knowing about him, but not knowing of him. But from all that I passed in my life, I had just suppressed them. I never really looked or dealt with them.
Of course you had reactions, thoughts, fears.
Yes.
But trying to be strong.
Always, yes.
Bracing yourself.
Yes.
For daily war.
Exactly.
You put it aside.
I just put, you open that drawer and just put everything and leave that. So it's like, I lived in the moment, it's here and now. Yesterday, if it's gone, it's gone. Tomorrow, I don't know what it's going to be. I live here in that moment. And that's how I lived my life going forward after I came out the military. I'm always on call if somebody needs something. I can never say no. I'm always available to assist, whatever. I never said no, but I didn't realize that I was just a people pleaser. I came to realize later on that, that's how, not to deal with those issues, let me make myself available to help and assist wherever they're needed. And that's how I went on with my life gradually until...
You got a job, you further your studies.
Yes, I did several temporary jobs. I learned computers, went on, worked at the bank. First at Computer Magazine, where I got the knowledge and information about handling computers. Then I did the bank. That was the last place of employment before I got married, found myself on the altar.
No. Now we need to have a stop.
Okay.
Because she did not just marry any person or any kind man.
No.
There is something special about it. Would you care to tell us, to share with us?
I was not looking for anyone. And, back in the day, we used to celebrate Christmas. Like on Christmas Day, everybody brings something and then you sit down. So I never stayed with people my age. I always liked to be with the older ones. So
Because
we were
life made you to grow up
yes,
mature very fast.
yes. So I always like to stay with older people because I felt that I can always get something from them. So I'm a type of person that I will sit down, I will watch, I will observe before I can even contribute on anything. So we were sitting down.
Those who know Donna knows she is like this till this day.
So then we were sitting down that holiday time with other elder members of the church. And we were...
So finally you found a church.
Yes, not the Universal Church,
Yeah.
was Eastside Church of Christ of late Pastor Forrest.
Pastor Forrest,
Yes.
who had worked in South Africa
Yes.
with his wife, late
Marianne.
Bishop David, Evelyn.
Yes.
So Donna was a member of the very first church, even before Bishop Macedo had arrived at the U.S.
Yes.
Nah?
Yeah.
So you were celebrating Christmas
so we
in
were
church,
sitting
a
back-
Christian church. You
Yes.
finally got to know God.
And we were sitting there. I think by that time the Universal Church had already started. Yeah.
But you belong to the
But
very
I belong
first church
to
of
the yes,
Pastor Forrest.
Eastside Church of Christ. Yes, so it just sort of integrated
Yeah.
and continued. So then we were sitting there and we were talking and
An
laughing.
eyewitness to the birth of the Universal Church
Yes,
in the States.
and the first assistant, and always will be an assistant. Yeah.
see?
So we were there sitting talking, and the potential husband at the time was there. So in that group, and we were talking and everything, the candidate. And we were talking, and then the other assistant that was from Brazil, her name was Dulce. We were very close. So then we were talking, and I told her, I said, next year at this time, because soon would be the night vigil and everything, I'm going to pass with my husband by my side. And she's like, really, Donna? It's like, yes. And it's like, do you have anybody? It's like, no, I don't have anybody.
Only faith.
And I didn't have anyone. I wasn't. So fast forward.
How old were you?
When we had the discussion, I was 23.
Very young,
Was 23.
but very decided.
Yes.
That's another
situation,
characteristic
yes,
of the life you had.
Yes.
There was no time to wait
No.
in between two thoughts.
At all, no. And this is one of the things, I won't say, maybe for lack of a better word, say the beauty of hardship. It's not beautiful, but it's what it does to you, the individual. It forms you. It's choice. You can either lay down and cry and pity yourself and say, oh, I didn't have a mom, I didn't have a dad, I hungered this and that. Or you can take that and make it for you to become stronger, more resilient, more determined, to be a person that, okay, that was just a bridge I had to cross over to get to where I am.
There is no quitting.
There is no quitting. You quit if you want to, because... and I think because of that, before, I had a very strong personality, a very serious personality.
You had to. Life needs you to be tough.
And sometimes, and even I brought it into the work of God. I'm sorry, no, but I'm not a mean person. I wasn't a mean person, but I was a no-nonsense person. Put it like that. You come into me to discuss something, to ask something. Have your facts, have your story, because I don't have time to waste. I don't have time to waste. So the situation that I passed in life made me to be, as I said, a resilient, a determined, a no-nonsense person. Some things here, deal with it and go on.
Not emotional at all.
No.
Actually emotional, but in another
way.
extreme.
Yeah. If it doesn't mean that I was above being affected by words or situation. No. I'm not wood. We do feel that. But I don't take to heart when something is done.
Not to.
I choose, yes, this is the word. I choose not to take to heart whatever the situation might be, or whatever person or whatever might say or whatnot. Because taking it to heart, I am the one being affected, not the person. So I don't like my mind to be troubling me. I don't like my conscience to be bombarding me about things. I don't like to feel uncomfortable with somebody who do something that I am not happy with. So I choose not to allow those things to affect me. So, and I believe that's how I am today. It's a choice that is made. So then when came 1988, 1989.
Then there was a potential husband.
Yes,
to be,
I'm
and
going
we
to
wanted
get
to
that.
know more
And I was
about
on his radar. And I didn't know. I didn't know I was on his radar. It's only after we get married. And I asked him, why me? So then...
So give us the profile of this candidate.
Okay. He was... okay.
Russian by birth.
Oh, gosh. Are we going to go there?
Yeah, very different in culture.
Yes, he was a Russian, He was much older than me, but he didn't look it. He was an educated person.
Yeah.
And he found Jesus while on the run. His testimony also was one very interesting, because to come out of Russia was not easy back then. I'm not talking about now. This is years back that it wasn't easy.
Still the Soviet Union.
It wasn't easy for him to get
Because he
out
was
from
in the
there.
military.
Huh?
He was also in the military.
Not military per se, but
Special services.
It wasn't easy for him to get out, but he managed to get out. He found, what do you call this, Christian organization that was there, and they helped to bring him out to the States, and he came, he found Jesus. He was going to a Christian church, but then later he found the Universal Church, became a member and everything, and was going there. So then I passed on his radar. So then I remember it was I think it was a Wednesday night service. After the church service, I was cleaning up, you clean up, prepare the church for the next day. And when I went to take my bag, there was a present there, a nice box. And I was like, oh, somebody put this here, it's not mine. So the wife at the time was Fatima of Bishop Francisco. I asked her, no, I think somebody left this. And she said, no, it's yours. I was like, no, it's not mine. She said, no, that Russian guy left it for you. And I was like, huh? And then when I opened it up, I was like, oh gosh, this person just touched my heart. It was a box of chocolate. And I love chocolate.
You have your soft side.
I have my soft side. And I was like, okay, let me bless it. And I eat. And then after the next time I saw him, I approached and asked, thank you for the chocolate and everything. And then gradually we began talking, and he would walk me to the train station, see that I got on the train, because I was living in Brooklyn. I had left my dad's house. Back then I was already on my own, because why I chose to leave was that after night vigil, going home at that time, I thought it wouldn't look good for the neighborhood where he is, your daughter coming in at early hours of the morning, coming late and back and forth, and not really being home. So considering that, I left. But my dad took it personally. He felt really bad about that. So then we got talking,
And
then we got married that same year.
How was adjusting to one another with two very different minds and cultures?
It was not easy, because one, he was way older, but I didn't mind, because having somebody, I guess maybe at that time it was like a father figure, but he didn't treat me like his daughter. He treated me as his wife. So two different cultures coming together, two different personalities, very big age difference. I was 24, he was 48.
24 years, exactly
yes,
double.
Exactly. So, but what we had in common is what made the marriage to work, our faith in God. And that is what we built on. We had our disagreement and everything. We had, as relationship had and whatnot. But knowing that when there is a problem, we don't, you face east, you face west and whatnot. We come together, get on our knees, talk to God about it, talk to each other and solve it. So then we went on like this. But then I'm just getting a little bit ahead. So then after we got married, and I asked him, there are so many other older women in the church. Why did you choose me? He said, no, because I see that you would make a good wife.
It was like, not the answer you were away.
It wasn't the answer, but I was like, okay. No, but then again, it got me thinking, sometimes for young women, they feel how can I put it? They don't think that they are not being observed, and there can be somebody watching how you do things, because it's not only that you would be a good wife, but I see how you take care of the things of God. I see the kind of faith that you have. I see your seriousness, that you're not out there playing, you take things seriously. I don't know if I'm making sense in that.
Perfect sense.
So then that was the reason why he chose, because I believe he was looking and he saw, okay, these ones are like this, so this one, well, let me put my eyes on her and follow through and whatnot. And then we got married. After a couple of years, we came to South Africa.
Now it starts a new chapter in our conversation. And I will hold you on just for a little while until we step in there.
Guess what? Your favorite podcast, the one that makes you think, laugh, and reminds you are not alone, is expanding its horizon. Conversations with Her is now officially on Spotify. So wherever you are, driving, walking, or just taking a moment for yourself, open Spotify, search Woman to Woman, Conversations with Her, and press play. Because sometimes hearing someone else's story helps you understand yours.
Donna.
Yes.
We are curious to understand how a Russian Trinidad American came to Africa.
Yes.
What for?
When the work started here,
because you guys were assistants in the church in the U.S.
Yes, we were. He was making services also. From Manhattan, we went to New Jersey. The church in Walnut Street, New Jersey. So we was living upstairs. The church was downstairs. So he was doing services and everything. Then Bishop David and Evelyn came. I think that was 1993. Then a year later, we followed. I think 94, because it was during the time of the transition of the apartheid time and so forth. So then we came and we started in Johannesburg, Black Chain Shopping Center.
Today, our holy ground, the headquarters for Africa. Can you imagine?
Imagine what a big change there. So we worked in various places here in Johannesburg, in Durban also. We worked amongst the Indian people in Phoenix. So we worked for a number of years, and then he fell sick. But it wasn't something that was aware of. I discovered it because one day he came out of the bathroom and immediately I went in. And I think maybe with how he was feeling, he wasn't saying anything. He forgot to flush. When I looked, there was blood and everything there. So then I was like, something is wrong. Let's go to the doctor. So then when we went to the doctor and everything, found out that it was cancer starting. And by then I had Jonathan. I remember there was, when we were leaving from Durban to come to Johannesburg for him to be hospitalized because he had gotten really bad. Then Jonathan was just a newborn baby. And I remember there was
months old.
Yeah, he was just a few months old. I remember we were staying in Stanger.
Yeah.
And I was alone out there at the time. and we had to, both of them was crying for my attention. Him because of the pain he was going through, Jonathan as a newborn, crying. And I remember I stood in the doorway and I was like, whom do I go to first? Because here you have alone, you have a newborn baby and a husband. They're both in crying, calling for your attention. And until today, I don't know which one I went to first. But all I know is that
Donna, what you felt
at that time,
having a newborn baby and just finding out that your husband had a very serious disease, what was in your mind, or you would push the thoughts away?
push it away. Because there was no time for me to dwell on my
Your
feelings. There is no time for me to, question why me at this time, what caused doubt. There was no time for that. The situation happened, I have to deal with it. And how am I going to deal with it? So I just suppressed everything just like I did with my childhood. Passed through the difficulties, I didn't mention this one being burnt with hot water. And it was not pleasant. It was not pleasant. But, you push it down. Because, no, there is something that has to be dealt with. There's no time to deal with the impact it is having on the lives, So that's why I believe it contributed to me being in the moment, living in the moment of things. I don't have time to worry. I don't have time to second guess. I don't have time to question. Something has to be solved. Okay, let's solve it. The problem is there, whatever. No time to this. No room for discussion. So with dealing with both of them, I just push everything away. There's no time to deal with that. We have to get him to the hospital. Jonathan will be taken care of and everything. And when we came...
And you had to come to Joburg.
And that was, I can say, tipping point, because he wasn't supposed to fly.
And no one knew.
And nobody knew. No one knew that.
And the quickest way?
And it's the quickest way, but the most... It became the most dangerous way. Because while he was in the air, he was turning yellow. Because the pain, the intensity of the pain... And then, because the intestine had exploded.
Oh, my gosh.
So quickly they called ambulance. They were there. They took him. The doctor said that when he opened him up, because he hadn't had a bowel movement for days. So everything was just packing up in there. So with the pressure in the aircraft, it exploded. And that's why he was in so much pain.
I remember because we were at the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they took him
quick. We were at the airport and the emergency, we got a call and
took
we
him
had to rush him
to the hospital. They did emergency surgery, cleaned him, stitched him up. Then again, they had to do the next day. So after that...
How old was Jonathan?
Jonathan was... How old? He was months. It wasn't a year.
I remember.
You remember better than me.
6 months.
He was months. He was months, so... And having to deal with that, so there was no time to look. But one thing that, that it has such a great impact is when you have a good support structure. Mm-hmm. Because the wives came on hand. I remember Jane was there. We stayed in their house. Everybody was on hand to help and to assist.
Because you had a newborn baby that depended on you even for feeding.
Exactly.
And you had your husband at the
to
hospital.
take care of. And it was trying. I'm not saying that I was a superwoman that handled it. No, but I kept my emotions on the side because there was no point at that moment to break down. Because breaking down, I have a newborn baby that is dependent on me. I remember someone even telling me that, you need to eat, take care of yourself because the milk can spoil. Because you have to, and I had to shift everything on the side and know that, no, I have someone that is dependent on me to take care. So I have to be on point. I have to watch
But you
myself.
never dealt with your own feelings.
No. I never really dealt with them. So he was hospitalized when he came and we got the diagnosis, the prognosis and everything. And then he was said to take chemotherapy, and he refused. He didn't want, because he said, I don't see the point of taking chemo, living for a few more years, and then dying. So he's like, no, let it go. So we changed his eating habits and everything, and then we just went on with that. But I always said, if I had the knowledge that I had now, I would
And
have
we're gonna
better
get there.
I would have insisted, take it and everything. So he had 1 year, because when he passed, Jonathan was 2 years old. So he had 1 year with Jonathan, but then eventually the end came. And
you knew.
Yeah, he knew also.
But you knew that you were about to lose your husband
Yes.
and have a 1-year-old baby.
Yes, because I remember
What was in your mind?
honestly speaking, it's life. It's a part of life.
As simple as that.
It's part of life. If it happened, I wouldn't say, why me? Why not me? It can happen to anybody. So appreciate, value the time that you have, because you don't know when it's going to be. And the time came on a Friday when he was resting. Then he said, call the bishop at the time. And I said, for what? He said, no, I want to go to the hospital. I was like, for what? He said, no, it's time. And I was like, okay. So we were taking him back to the one in Bedford View. And he said, no, just take me to any hospital. And I said, no, we can't do that. We were told to take you there. And then he went, he was hospitalized, and he began to deteriorate. And I remember it was after pastor's meeting, I went there.
And we made everything planned and
Yes.
possible for you not to be alone.
Exactly.
But our will does not prevail.
It does not.
Because the wife was supposed, because there was a shift of
A
wives'
schedule, yes, was
and
made.
the wife who was supposed to be with you in the moment, something happened that she was delayed, and you were alone with him.
So there, when I went, I saw him. He was, all scraggly, the beard and everything, and I was very upset. I was like, these people didn't even have the nerve, the decency to shave him. So I began to shave, not knowing that I was preparing him. And then he was just going. He was listening to music, and I was like, I didn't take a shower. I need to shower, but then I didn't want to leave him. Because at the back of your mind, it's going to happen, but you don't know when it's going to happen. So I said, okay, let me take a quick shower. So the moment I stepped into the shower, it was the quickest shower of my life. And between that moment, by the time I stepped back out, he left. So then the nurse came, and because that machine went off, the nurse came and said, he's gone. And then it began to rain. Then I was like, okay, then the news went around and whatnot. And I remember that after the funeral and everything, I was asked a question, so do you want to go back to the States? I said, my journey began in the work of God with him. So it doesn't mean that it doesn't end because he is no more. I am still here for God to use me. So it doesn't matter the capacity, the area that he wants to use me in. I am available. However, but if the church is not able to, no problem. I am here to obey. And they kept me. The church kept me, took care of me very, very well.
Of course.
Very well.
Because it was your decision.
My family. This was the family. Exactly. This is the family. When God says you leave, he who leaves mother, father for his work, doesn't fail to receive much more. And I received so much more. By being taken care.
How was for you as a woman, young,
Yes.
with a baby 2 years old, to think about life, future, where do I go from now? Do I cry for my husband? Do I take care of this small one? That moment.
And it happened.
Yeah.
That moment happened.
Because whatever you suppress, eventually one
it
day
comes
will
up.
come as a tsunami.
And it did. It did. We were in Durban because that's where we were. And I remember it was, I think it was a Saturday. Because on Saturdays I would take Jonathan out to the beach and everything. And we were in the the park, and that's where it hit me. And I just wept like a baby.
For the first time.
For the first time. And the question I asked, I was even blaming him. I said, it's not fair. Why did you leave us? Why did you leave me? Now everything that I had suppressed was coming up. That moment of dealing with the situations, it has passed and everything. So something triggered it. I don't really remember what triggered it, but then that sort of like popped the balloon.
For those who think that we pastors' wives are perfect.
We are not. We are far from it.
And that we have everything figured out.
No, we don't. We don't.
Have our down moments
we
as
do,
well.
And I had mine, and it was, but after that moment, I just wept and everything. But I never spoke to anyone about what was going on inside of me, because I'm not that I'm a private person, but when I've dealt with something, I don't really see the need. That's me, to be sitting down and talking. I have tried.
That is a result of your past.
Yes.
You had to figure out things
for myself.
alone.
Yes.
You were trained to do it that way.
So because some people, they talk, but I'm a type of person, I keep it in, deal with it. Once I've dealt with it, I move on, with whatever is next that is there. So then I told myself, okay, been down this road, I'm not going to marry again. Yes, honestly. It took me, 4 years after.
Sorry to ask, Donna, how old were you then?
I was 32, 31.
To say I'm not going to marry again.
And I decided, no, because I married at 24. We were married for 7 years. He died on the 8th year.
32?
Jonathan was 2. So for me, I've decided, been down that road, been there, done that.
I have my son.
I have my son. So now
I have the work of God.
Exactly. So let me just give myself to what God wants. Now it's God, whatever you want. Okay, you allow me that moment. So now it's whatever. And that's how I lived. My focus was just doing the work of God, raising Jonathan, being there and what. But then
we are going to give to you right now 2 tips how to deal with your past. We have been speaking about some signs you could easily spot in Donna's journey. How she suppressed, but one day she had to deal with her past. And again, she's going to be confronted with challenges, adjustment. We're going to carry on just after these 2 tips.
Letting go of the past sounds easy, but it's not. Mistakes, regrets, and what ifs have a way of sticking around. Moving forward isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about facing it and slowly letting it go. Tip 1. Accept what happened without rewriting it and forgive yourself. You cannot heal what you keep denying. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means acknowledging reality without constantly replaying it or wishing it were different. Forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, is part of this process. It's not excusing bad decisions, but recognizing that you are operating with the knowledge, maturity, or emotional capacity you had at the time. Tip 2. Break the identity attachment. Often, people don't just remember their past, they become it. I am divorced. I am a failure. I am the one who messed up. These are identities, not facts. The fact is, the past is an event. It is not your permanent label. To fight for a successful future, you must detach your identity from your worst moments. Start saying, that happened to me, instead of, that is who I am. If any of this feels familiar, you are not alone. Letting go of the past takes time, but moving forward is always possible.
Welcome back. Now, I'm sure you are curious about this story of marriage because she was so decided. And you
Yes.
heard when Donna decides on something, it's done
It's done deal.
and over.
And over
Not in
with.
this case.
No room for discussion. But little did I know that there was something on the horizon. God was working on a backstory and everything. So then I went back to the States in 99, was to take care of my papers. And then I came back and I remember was Evelyn. She took me out for afternoon tea with Marcia at the time, the late wife of Bishop Enyo. And they were sitting down, but it was a planned thing. So then after she asked, so did you find anybody? I was like, no, I didn't go there for that. I went to take care of my papers and everything. And then Marcia said, no, there's the auxiliary of my husband there in Nigeria. I said, oh, yeah? And then she showed Nigeria. Now I went from Russia to Nigeria.
Very odd.
A very cultural lady.
Yes. You don't settle for an American like you or for a Trinidad like you. No, you need to have something different.
Someone beyond. So
and
then-
with a story.
Yes.
Again.
Yes.
Running for his life again.
Exactly. So then she gave me a brief about him and everything. And my question was, how old? She said the age. I said, how many children? She said, no, he doesn't have children. And I gave her that side look like a man living the kind of life he's living and he doesn't have children outside. I beg to differ. But it was true. So then I said, okay. Then Evelyn said,
Were you shocked with his testimony?
yes.
Did you know about his story right in that spot, or you had to hear from him?
No. He. I didn't get the whole picture. You know, they just give
I
me
think you would have had
brief.
stepped back.
And then Evelyn said, no, for him, introduce yourself. Another thing about me is that I don't like talking about myself. I prefer other people talk about me.
Yeah.
So she said, write about
It
yourself.
took me 28 years to make her to speak it all. Believe me.
And so she said, write and tell him about yourself. And I was like, okay. Several letters. I wrote.
I'm a widow, I'm a mother, I'm in the church for this long, and I love God.
And then I wrote and I sent to her. And then she's like, no, Donna, tell about yourself. Tell your story. And then I was like, God, you have to help me with this because I don't know where to begin. So then after I wrote it, but he was already prayed because he found the church. He found Jesus in Brazil. He was a big-time drug dealer. And when I say big-time drug dealer, is that person that, not the type that they sell on the street, you know, that when you sit down, you make deals and everything, you swallow it, you carry it, and then you're on
Not
time.
a mule.
You're on time because you have to get to your destination on time or else it can
That was
explode.
not his.
So that was the kind of life. But he started very young when he shared his testimony with me. And why did he enter into that kind of lifestyle? Because he's also from a big family. Yeah. So he saw how his father suffered and died to train them. And he vowed, my siblings, being the firstborn, my siblings will never suffer. And that's how he entered into the dark life of crime. Not that he would kill anybody, but drugs and everything.
He was the mastermind of roots and all that. Yeah, that's the thing. He would not do small jobs.
No, and he would carry. So it was between...
But he was chosen by God.
Exactly.
And he got lost in Brazil.
Exactly. He got stranded there, nothing and everything. And his journey was a very difficult one. But then fast forward.
In a country not speaking the language,
exactly.
Not having whom to contact, could not go to the embassy to say, listen, I am a drug dealer and I'm just stranded here.
Exactly.
And it was how God brought him to the church.
And that's how he found Jesus.
And he stayed in Brazil for how long?
Oh, it was quite a number of years.
I think 6.
Yeah, till he learned the language even. He said before he got to learn the language, when he wants to buy something, he'll go into the supermarket, pick what he wants, take his wallet and give. I said, but then they can steal all your money. He said it doesn't.
In Brazil, that's the way.
So he said, it doesn't matter, as long as I get what I want. So then he founded
Then he became
Jesus.
an
He became an
assistant.
assistant. Then he came back to Nigeria, and auxiliary pastor. And that's how he was introduced to me. So after I wrote him, but he was always praying, God, give me somebody. Why? Because he was a serious womanizer. So he had that fear of falling, but then he saw how God's hand was upon him, that he stayed years before he met me. But he always prayed for a life partner. God, give me the woman that you have for me.
Yeah, because you can't be a pastor without having your first sheep.
Exactly.
That's what we learn in the Universal Church. That's what we teach.
Yes.
Even though it took him some time, he needed to have the right one.
Exactly. So when I wrote
And the right
letter,
one was the one who didn't want to get married, though.
I didn't. So then I wrote the letter and everything, and I gave it to Marcia, and she took it back there when she came back to Nigeria. And then she gave it to him. And he said to me, the moment he received the letter, the confirmation came that this is the one. And he didn't read the letter. Oh, he didn't read it. He just held it, and he got that confirmation. He said he threw himself back on the bed. He lifted up. He said, "She has arrived. She has arrived."
I can't imagine Pastor Benson doing that.
As tall as he is.
So serious as he
So
is.
serious.
He was really
Then he
happy.
read it, and then we started communicating. I have all of our letters until today. Sometimes I pick it out and I reread them. So we started communicating via letter, and he told me his story, his family, and
Were
everything.
you scared?
Not really. It was kind of interesting, because
No, you
I
were
don't-
an adventurous person.
I don't know this kind of life. And even until today, he was like, God protected you from this kind of life. Because, because my mind cannot wrap around, you went that way but it was survival to take care of his younger ones, because he saw what his dad went through. So then we got to know each other. Then he came here. He met Jonathan. He came in June. He met Jonathan. And before I could say yes to him, my concern was that I don't want him to show interest in Jonathan just to get to me. You have...
And you didn't want anyone who would mistreat
Exactly.
Jonathan just as you were mistreated.
Exactly. So it was, but when they came together, they clicked in such a way, you see that, no, this is God's handwork. Because the way Jonathan took to him, and he became so jealous of Jonathan until today. This became his eyeball.
You see?
That even there so after he went back to Nigeria, then he came back in October, we got married, and then he went on ahead in November, we went on ahead with him
So
to
that's
Nigeria.
the second part of the story, because
Yes.
now you had to start a new life
Yes.
with a child.
He was 5 years old at the
a
time.
child. He was no longer a toddler, but he was
No,
a child.
he was still a child.
Going to Nigeria, another
Yes,
culture.
Another culture altogether.
Very, very rough for foreigners to understand. And with a husband who had a past.
A very
you
big
had a past.
And not knowing him very well, because we
Yes.
didn't court very long. Because, we were adults. He came in June, and October we got
Oh
married.
gosh, this is crazy. We don't recommend this.
No. We didn't get to...
But you guys were mature.
Yes,
And
that's
you
the
had to
thing.
find your way through
Exactly.
the challenges. Because there were
Exactly.
many differences.
Very much so. And
He
I
had
was...
never been married.
no, he has never been married.
So how to be a husband and a father.
It was I think it was challenging for him, but he embraced it. He became equal to the task. He was there, as I said, he was very jealous of Jonathan. So he protected.
But also he's not soft.
No, he's not.
He's a very tough man.
Very tough man. So that person that I saw that talks that sweet talk and everything, I remember one incident when we were there in Nigeria, and that was the side I saw that scared me. Because, load shedding is very common there. So the person wanted to switch to lock where the gen is so that Sunday morning the church wouldn't have light. So he wasn't having it. And he went there and they were exchanging words. That's how I came to see that Nigerians just talk loud naturally. You know, they don't have that normal like we are conversing and you think they are fighting. And I went there with Jonathan like, no, you know, trying to be the good Samaritan. No, you know, you don't need to be like that. And then the way he was like, get out of here. I was like,
oh my gosh.
because now it was,
myself?
the situation was very intense. So for him, you being there with the child, you can get hurt. This is not place for women. So exclude yourself. And me, I saw it as
With
like,
an American mind.
what is
have
this?
I done of my life?
Exactly.
That
That was my question. I took Jonathan and went around and I put my hand on my head and I said, my God, what did I do? Where did I find myself? Is this the man that I married? Because I never saw that kind of reaction. But for him, I agreed with it later on because he was protecting the church. You know, the person wanted to pull a fast one and he wasn't having it. If you lock it, how are we going to have lights? How the people are going to see? No, he wasn't having it. So that side came up, you know, to defend and whatnot. So then after we sit down, we talk and everything. It was challenging. He was tough. He was a tough person. And it took me a while to adjust to that.
Plus all the challenges you faced yourself with Jonathan, a foreigner. Because you look at Jonathan, you know he's not a Nigerian.
He's not, no.
No, he's very light and complex.
Very.
He has, at least he picks up accents. Ne?
Yes,
he had
he does.
American accent, then he got accent from Cape Town.
Exact. Oh, that
but
one.
they would clearly see
That
this boy
one
is not from here.
Exactly.
And to make him to understand the kind of life he chose.
You know,
How many malarias you got?
oh, I think I became immune. The last one, not only malaria, we had boils. And it was always between Jonathan and I. When I fall sick, it was sort of like rotational. When I fall sick, then Benson would be okay. Then when he falls sick, Jonathan would be okay. So it was going around
Because
like
of
that.
the water.
Because of the water, the mosquitoes, the environment and everything. So that was another chapter of struggles, fights, you know. But one thing that I was very grateful for, Jonathan never complained. Not for one single day. He never complained. For him, everything was play. He loved to play. It was like he was in an adventure. He would wake up in the morning to go to school, come back home because we weren't at home, but he would take care of himself. The situation made him to grow up, to mature, and he was able to handle whatever it is, but he never complained. No matter what you set before him, he would eat it with relish, with happiness and enjoyment. Though he never had what he wanted, but he never said, you know, why am I in this kind of life? Why did I come here to suffer? No, not for one single day. So, and that one I was grateful for. He grew up, came back here to South Africa, finished his schooling, but he took another path.
Before we go there, because
Yes.
now it comes the part that she learned to deal with the past.
Yes.
She had that woe moment
Yes.
that we are going to talk about, and how she used that self-confrontation to help you. 2 more tips, and back we come.
Now that we've started letting go of the past, it's time to take the next step. Letting go isn't just about acceptance or forgiveness. It's about turning your energy into action and giving yourself something worth moving toward. Tip 3. Replace rumination with action. Overthinking feels productive, but it's usually just disguised stagnation. Thinking about what went wrong doesn't build what can go right. Shift your focus from emotional replay to practical steps. Even small, consistent actions, learning a skill, improving your health, strengthening your faith, building better habits, begin to shift your trajectory. Tip 4. Create a compelling vision bigger than your pain. If your future is unclear, your past will feel louder. Build a vision so exciting, purposeful, and meaningful that staying stuck becomes more uncomfortable than moving forward. Write down what success looks like for you, emotionally, spiritually, financially, relationally. When you have something worth fighting for, regret loses its grip. A strong vision pulls you forward the same way pain once held you back. If any of this hits close to home, you're not alone. Start small, keep moving, and let your future pull you forward.
Donna, you spent in Nigeria about 7 years.
Was going on 9 years.
And then you were recalled to South Africa with a family.
Yes, we came back to South
a new
Africa.
Season, new adjustment.
Yes.
Because South Africa was no longer
The same as when I first came to it. Even the people around changed, added actually. They grew. So Jonathan had to go back to school. He lost 2 years because there he was heading for the final year. But then when he came here, he had challenges and everything. So he had to go back to grade 9. He wasn't too happy about it, but it was good for him because afterwards, when he matriculated, he said, Mom, it was good for me that I went back because he made friends. He learned. It now was like at his pace.
Prepared him for matric here,
yes,
not in
exactly.
Nigeria.
Prepared him for matric here. So after he matriculated and everything, then he departed and went on.
He dropped you a bomb.
Yes, he came and he's like, he wanted to study photography, and then, okay, he found a school in the States. He went there. He left. He was staying with my brother, the one before me.
No, but the bomb was that. You never thought he would leave.
I never thought he would leave.
And all of a sudden, he knocks at your door and say, I'm going to make a life there.
Yes.
And you had to trust.
I had to.
All that you have invested in him, not invested physically, but in character.
Yes.
In his spiritual life.
Exactly.
That he would not get lost.
Exactly. That was I had to show God that, okay, it's choice. I would love for him to be with us. I would love for him to have just transitioned.
Study here, work here,
do everything.
Here,
exactly. Be under mom's watch. But he chose that no, he wants to branch out. And I had to believe that the training, the teachings, the seeds that was sown will make a difference in his life. And he will bring it into play. He knows right from wrong. He knows what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. So, and then we had to leave him home.
This family is from the military, I'm telling you. Jonathan served.
So he left.
For
and
6 years?
Yes, he went 6 years to the military.
He built his life.
He built his life.
He never got lost
No.
in his principles and values.
No.
He takes care of his life.
Yes.
He came to visit
you
by
surprise. He came and visit right before COVID hit.
Yeah.
He came. It was the big surprise, but he came. He spent a week and then he went back.
And you are in peace with him.
Yeah.
You miss.
I do miss him. Sometimes he will go months before he get in touch with me, but because of the nature of the work he's doing, he doesn't always communicate because his schedule is very erratic and so forth. But I understand about that. But
you made your choice.
He made his own. I could not impose my choice, my dream on him. Each person has their calling.
You invested in his foundation.
Yes,
and now you trust in God with that.
That exactly.
But we are not here to talk about Jonathan. And if you think we are already heading to the end of the conversation, now it gets the most important part of it. The tsunami came back.
Yes.
And when you came back to South Africa, it was the moment that God confronted you again.
Mm-hmm.
In different ways.
In different ways. And I think I have Godlywood to thank for that. Just like IntelliMen helped my husband, with changing and becoming a better man.
Toning down.
Yes, very much. Toning down. He became a better husband. He became a better father. He wasn't, how can I say, demanding. He learned, and that was all through IntelliMen. IntelliMen groomed him to be the man that he is today. And with Godlywood, it helped to unearth it was like the key that opened the Pandora box.
Mm-hmm.
that I had to deal with my past, my upbringing, everything that I had passed through, and just
What were
let
the
it go.
things that were in your hidden inside you that were
Ins-
popping out and
Inside
confronting
of
you?
me, I can say I had poor self-image. I never really valued myself, so I would cover that up with all the busyness. As I said, I'm a present person, but not to look at me, Donna. So
You
I
look
would,
after others.
yes, I care for others. I will go the distance, but for Donna, never invest in Donna, never care for Donna, never find out what pleases Donna.
You
What
never
makes
spoke
Donna.
about Donna.
I never spoke about Donna at all because when I sit down, I always tell myself, but what do I have to say? Because what I have to bring to the table, maybe people are not going to relate or how can I say, get it? So I never really, because I would play it in my mind, and when I put it out there, it's like, no, you're just wasting people's time. So just keep everything to yourself. There's no need to, but it's not good. It's not wrong, to talk about what you're going through. As long as it doesn't become, how can I say, like a crutch, because you have some people, they talk about the same thing time and time again. But the purpose for talking about what's going on with you, how you're feeling, it's a release from what you have inside. It's bringing you face to face with what you have kept hidden.
And gives you a new dimension.
And it gives you, exactly. And it's like you're peeling off all those layers. And I had to go through that, the poor self-image, the why me inside, I passed through, why my family, why did they treat us like that? Why couldn't we receive care and love? Why did we have to go to be begging on the street? Why did we burnt with hot water? Why did we have to go hungry? So all of these things,
because you had a behavior, and I'm going to touch on that, because I think it may help them to understand.
okay.
You felt that you didn't deserve anything good.
Exactly.
But you would not put that in words, because I don't think you would connect the dots.
No.
So you told me sometimes even your husband would give you a gift, a beautiful gift, and you would say thank you and give to somebody else. Why?
I guess because I felt that I didn't deserve. And I think that's how I was, because even sometimes I would buy things and next minute I'm giving it away.
Let me make a question that maybe people there are asking. Did you have the Holy Spirit?
Yes, I did.
How would you have gone through so much without Him?
It's
But
not possible.
Still, those things
Those things
had
were
to
there.
unearth.
Because they were there, they were just suppressed. And, I do deal with what God has called me to deal with. Even having the Holy Spirit, there are things inside of you. If you don't deal, it doesn't mean that you are not free, but you need to deal with it at the end of the day. I don't know if I'm making sense. Yes, you baptize in the water, you baptize in the Holy Spirit, but if you don't deal with your past, you don't deal with what you have gone through, somewhere along the line, it will be...
it will hook you not to do more to your potential.
Exactly.
And that it was what was happening with you.
Because I always kept myself back. I always think, no, somebody can do better than me. I'm not capable. I'm not good at that. I'm not qualifiable. But I have the ability. But for me, because of, the way you were treated, that's why you are not able to do what you received back then. That's what you deserved. So because I deserve that kind of lifestyle in growing up, then what right is there for me to have anything better?
Being a pastor's wife.
Yes.
Telling women in the church, you can make it.
Yes, and I used to encourage. And this was something that, when I listened to people in the church, I would listen to them and hear them, and I would give encouragement, give advice. No, you can't accept life like this. But I never brought it to myself that, take your own medicine.
Yeah.
Drink your own medicine. The same way that you are telling this person that you have potential, you have ability, you can do X, Y, and Z. Now, Donna, why can't you? Because I felt that I didn't deserve. You know what? Let me just be available. God, however you want to use me, go ahead and use me. Whatever you want me to do, I'm ready to
But
do
when
it.
God would call you to do something else, you would say, I cannot. I don't have what it takes.
I don't have what it takes.
But God challenged you
And one day, yes, he called my attention on that.
in very
Who give man
different ways.
in different ways. That's why I say Godlywood was very impactful for me because it helped me to come out. And then I remember I looked myself one day in the mirror and I was like, but Donna, why? I'm not being narcissistic, okay? But it's like, you are beautiful.
Yes.
You know,
You're
look
competent.
at you. You're beautiful. You are aging well.
You've been through
You know,
so much.
I've been so much, but I never falter. You know, why can't you appreciate whom you are, whom God has made you to be? You know, and I think when we don't have when we have a poor self-image about ourselves, it makes God sad because
Totally.
you are not appreciating.
We undermine His creation.
Exactly.
That is the truth. When we look down at ourselves, we are looking down at God's creation.
Exactly. So going forward,
God put a challenge.
He put a challenge with the cancer work.
Yeah.
Because-
and to my blessing, we were just coming back and thinking about what else can we do.
Yes,
And we started with the cancer.
the cancer work.
And I look at Donna and say, oh my gosh, I can't bring that burden on her because, you know, she lost her mother, she lost her husband. But it was her that God wanted.
Exactly. And
So you had to go to training,
numerous training, did training,
visit
hospitals, you know, counseling people on that, on learning when it comes to training others in awareness.
and you do
know,
one of the most difficult
The
parts of the work.
death and dying.
Yeah.
It's the most challenging. It's the most heartbreaking one, but you learn to rein in your emotions and deal with what is there present at that moment.
And Donna is the she is the coordinator of the cancer work for Women in Action throughout Africa.
Yes.
Someone who didn't believe in herself, she is empowered, she is accredited to do training. And she has been training all the pastors' wives through the continent now, starting with our French ladies.
Yes.
With our French ladies.
Yes.
And because of that impact, to make out of what was her biggest challenge and pain with the mother. And with her husband, now she made out of it her platform, her motto to help
Others.
So it's
true.
not only about quitting.
No.
It's about continuing, but for a greater cause.
Exactly.
And that's what you
Exactly.
had to do.
And that's what I had to do. So when I look back, I see that, you know, what we go through in life prepares us, but we don't really know it at the moment. So as this point, this season in my life, when I look back, I see that, yes, it was hard. It was rocky. It was painful. It was wounding, but being able to rise out of all of that and to be where I am today, I see that the hand of God has guided me and brought me now. And I believe, and for me, the greatest of all is acceptance of Donna, whom Donna is today. Looking at myself and said, I appreciate you.
You're
I
proud of
value.
yourself.
Yes, I am proud of myself. In a good way, in a good way, in a good
No,
way.
when we talk about being proud of ourselves, it's not, with that sense of I'm more than others.
No.
But at least you are satisfied.
Yes, because the situation molded me and made me who I am today. You know, being a resilient person, overcoming. Quitting is not an option. It's never an option at all for anyone in any situation or circumstances. when you look at yourself, whatever you are going through, you go through it, especially when you have God on your side. You go through it. You don't stop. You don't seek for pity from people. You don't stop and said, I give up, because you don't know what is on the other side. So you push yourself through. And by going through, you will be surprised of what you are able to accomplish on the other side there.
I see it's more than just the strength not to quit.
Yes.
But also the trust.
Yes.
That out of that situation, something much greater
comes from it.
Yes. I want to share with you James 1. And I'm just going to read, because before I can explain the verse, I have already explained and Donna has explained. This is what she has lived, and this is what you and myself need to start living. It says like this: my brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. In other versions, perseverance. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. So, it's not only the problems, the challenges. The Bible tells us rejoice. We don't rejoice.
No.
Today you rejoice.
Rejoice, yes, today.
Today
yes.
you see what God wanted to complete.
Exactly.
And you are completed in it. We don't rejoice at the time. But it's more than just to test our faith. It's to do something much greater out of it.
Exactly.
And this is what has been Donna's life. It is the fulfillment of that promise of God, of that word. Donna, we have women out there with different problems. And up until this day, maybe they saw their problems there to destroy them. And through your story, I'm sure they have been encouraged not to understand that it's not to destroy them, it's to build them for something greater.
Exactly.
And I want you to pray for them.
Okay, I will.
So
let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you. Lord, you are so good. I thank you for the women that are watching us. Lord, let them understand that whatever they might be going through right now, they might be hurting from it at the moment, but it's always for something greater. Lord, build up this person that is broken, that is wounded, that is crying, that feels hopeless, this person that feels rejected, abandoned. My Lord, let them know that you are there for them. Embrace them at this very moment. Let your peace come and rest upon them, my Lord. This one that is weak, down, let strength come upon her, my Father, that she will stand on her feet and lift her eyes to you and give you the glory, my Lord. Take her through the journey that she is in right now, my Lord. Lead her through and help her to see that on the other side is something greater, what you purposed and planned for her life. Lord, we thank you for your goodness, for your mercy, for your love, for your protection and your provision. Bless each and every one of the women that is listening to this program, and let them have your will to be done in their life. This is what we ask you, and we give you thanks, my Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 So we had one more conversation with Donna, and I'm sure today she has blessed you. So we look forward to the next one.
Yes.
And I wanted to leave here our numbers, because if you may be battling with any sort of pain that you can't overcome, or even having someone you love going through any treatment or difficult to accept that situation, you can contact Donna. Yes. And Donna will share from what she's been through and help you.
Exactly.
Until next week, God bless you all. Donna, thank you for joining us. It was a nice conversation.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
And count on her.
Yes, you can.
God bless you.
God
Bye-bye.
bless you. Bye-bye.
The first step to healing is simply reaching out. If you or someone you know needs support, Email woman-to-woman@uckg.org.za or call 0800 330 320. Our toll-free helpline offers confidential, non-judgmental support.